Why the Golden State Warriors will win the series against the Boston Celtics. With the way the Warriors have been playing so far in this year's playoffs, combined with the fact that they have phenomenal top-end talent, I personally think the Warriors are primed for a victory over the Celtics. But quickly before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports, I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. This finals matchup between Golden State and Boston is going to be a very entertaining matchup in my opinion. The top level talent that both of these teams have in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on Boston's side, and Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole on the Warriors side, it's just going to make for a very entertaining series. And we already saw a pretty entertaining game 1 where Golden State basically controlled the game for the most part of the game, but then late into the fourth quarter, the Boston Celtics not only came back, but actually took a pretty sizable lead and victory as well. And I think in this series we're gonna see a lot of crazy swings just like we did in game 1. And the great thing about this series is going into it, this series was seen as a very close matchup, and although I would say the majority of people think the Warriors are gonna win this series, there still are a lot of people who think Boston will win, and especially after their impressive game 1 victory, there's even more people that think the Celtics will win this matchup at this point. So what I'm trying to say is this matchup is very close and can clearly go either way. But of course, based on the title of the video, you guys already know that in my opinion, I think the Warriors are going to win this matchup, and I think so for a few different reasons. So let's quickly get into some of those. So the first and most obvious reason is the fact that the Warriors have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole as their top 3 guys. It's pretty clear that all 3 of these guys have the capability of going off in any given moment, and we already saw Steph Curry go off in game 1 specifically early on. So when you have 3 different guys like that on your roster, you're always going to be an extremely difficult team to beat, and if 2 of those guys are able to have really good games at the same time, you're going to be basically impossible to beat. And when you also consider, even besides the top end talent that they do have, they also have a pretty nice well-balanced roster with guys like Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, Andre Iguodala even, and just other good players on their team as well. It just makes them that much more dangerous. But another reason why I think Golden State will win this series is how well coached they are and overall how well they play together. Because ever since Steve Kerr took over as head coach, whenever you think of the Golden State Warriors, one of the first things that you typically think of is how well coached this team is. And even besides running crisp offensive sets that would come from coaching, when you also consider the type of chemistry that these guys have, based upon knowing where their teammates are going to be out there on the court at all times, it just makes for beautiful basketball, and we really have seen that ever since Steve Kerr took over. And of course, the key to winning an NBA championship isn't necessarily only your top end talent, you also have to play pretty well as a unit in order to do so, and it's pretty clear that the Golden State Warriors, especially this season, play very well together. Now the next reason why I think the Warriors will win this series is based upon experience. Now experience isn't necessarily always everything, and sometimes a lack of experience could actually benefit you because you don't necessarily know what to expect, and maybe the pressure wouldn't necessarily be on you as much as if you knew what to expect going into a finals matchup, but most of the time experience is a huge benefit to you. But I think for Golden State, the fact that they were in the finals so often, and the fact that they were able to win multiple NBA championships and really know what it takes to do so would be a huge benefit to them. And especially when you consider that the Boston Celtics are a relatively young team and don't obviously have finals experience, it could certainly be a decent advantage for Golden State. But although I think the Warriors will win the series, I still do think there's certain things that the Celtics do very well that will cause problems to the Warriors, as was made pretty apparent in game 1. So let's quickly go over some of those. So probably the biggest issue that the Celtics do bring is a top end talent that they do have in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who have both proven the ability to play very well in the NBA playoffs. But even besides their top end guys, similar to Golden State, they also are pretty well coached, and they also have a pretty nice supporting cast as well. But another issue that the Celtics do bring to the Warriors is a level of defense that they're able to play. And really towards the tail end of the regular season, and especially especially in this year's playoffs, the Celtics have done a phenomenal job at playing great team defense. Because when you look at the roster, basically everybody on this team is able to play at the very least decent defense, while other guys on this roster are able to play great defense. And there's a few of those guys on this team. So the Celtics certainly have the capability to give problems to guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole, and already have proven the ability to do so at least somewhat in game 1. So I think those are certainly factors that the Warriors need to focus on, and if the Celtics are able to play phenomenal team defense on the Warriors and are able to stop some of their Warriors' top guys, I think they would have a decent chance to win the series. But one other factor that I wanted to mention is, of course, in game 1, Steph Curry did go off early on, but when you look at the other two stars that the Warriors do have in Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, those guys didn't really play well whatsoever, specifically Jordan Poole, as he only put up 9 points on 2 of 7 shooting in game 1, and Klay didn't necessarily play all that well either, only putting up 15 points on 6 of 14 shooting. So just imagine if one or both of those guys in Klay and Jordan play extremely well, just imagine how good this Warriors team could be. Now obviously when you talk about Steph, he did have a really good game, putting up 34 points, but most of those points came early on in the first half, and in the second half he certainly cooled off quite a bit. So what I would like to see from Steph going forward is just to play a full 48 minutes of great basketball. And you can't necessarily expect Steph to put up 30 plus points every game, but what you could expect from him is just to play good basketball from top to bottom. And I'm not only necessarily talking about scoring, but I'm also talking about facilitating for his teammates, playing decent defense, and overall just providing good leadership to the younger guys, specifically Jordan Poole. But also when you look at some of the other stats in game 1 and you look at the Celtics side, you talk about Al Horford putting up 26 points on extremely efficient shooting. That's not necessarily something that's going to happen every game. You also talk about Derek White putting up 21 points on extremely efficient shooting in the fourth quarter as well. That's not necessarily something that's going to happen every night. So that certainly is a positive for the Warriors going forward. But of course, you also have to consider that Jason Tatum only put up 12 points on 3 of 17 shooting in game 1, which obviously is not going to happen all that much going forward in this year's finals, and probably not going to happen at all, honestly, going forward. So those are all things that you should consider going forward in this year's finals. And overall, after considering all those factors, I really do think Golden State is going to win this matchup. But we'll see what happens going forward. It certainly is going to be a very interesting and entertaining matchup. And of course, as I mentioned, I do think this matchup is going to be very close, and my official prediction for this matchup, one game in, is going to be the Golden State Warriors are going to win this matchup in 6 or 7 games, leaning towards 7 games. But of course, who knows? This matchup is so close that obviously the Celtics could easily win this matchup. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think the Boston Celtics will win this matchup and win the NBA championship, or do you think the Warriors will? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these 2 videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.